Hey there and welcome back to XCOM. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our XCOM Enemy Within Ironman Impossible walkthrough. In the last episode we had another run-in with Exalt and we also completed our very first gene modification. And with Andrea fresh out of the gene labs and that mission completed, we will send her right back in today, because for a very particular achievement we need her to have at least 2 gene mods. And the modification we're going with here today is another one that focuses on her survivability. Adaptive bone marrow not only drastically reduces recovery time, but it also allows Andrea to regenerate hit points in combat. That, however, is only the case if she's not wearing armor. So we are taking this mainly for the recovery time bonus. Once again, the procedure will take 3 days, and it will cost us 30 credits and 15 units of meld.
Excellent. We'll begin prepping the candidate for surgery immediately. I will notify you when the genetic modification process is completed.
And that is all I wanted to do to get this episode going, so now we can start scanning.
Satellite coverage now available over United Kingdom.
Alright, the 4 satellites we launched at the end of the last month are now up and running, and we also have the scope upgrade completed. That means everyone who has a scope equipped now has a 10% better critical hit chance, and especially for our snipers, this upgrade should be very useful.
Power generator complete.
Our engineers also complete the construction of another power generator, but let's keep going here.
Access lift operational.
Because now with the construction of the 4th and final access lift, we have just unlocked the Drums in the Deep achievement. With that lift constructed, we now have access to all 4 layers of the XCOM base, and of course we also soon want to start building in all of those 4 layers, so let's start excavating. That steam tile on the right, by the way, will also enable us to build a steam generator, which should definitely be a big help for our power supply. And that's all we can do for the moment, so let's continue passing some more time.
Infusing the bone marrow with meld will allow our soldiers to regenerate combat wounds while on the battlefield.
And there we are, Andrea now has 2 gene modifications, and for the moment that's enough for her. But with 7 high-ranking soldiers we can afford to have at least 1 in the gene labs at all times. And our next candidate is going to be Sniper Resilius Wargal. Yes, Resilius has not really seen a lot of action as a sniper lately, but when he does you can bet he's going to be well prepared. And to get us started here we will equip him with the Death Perception gene modification. This mod is excellent for all snipers in the game who like to stay on the high ground, as it gives an additional +5 aim and critical hit chance bonus whenever the soldier has height advantage.
Thank you, Commander. I'll have the volunteer prepped and ready for surgery shortly. I'll send word when the procedure is complete.
And going forward, Resilius will likely have a lot of that, so let's send him to the labs for 3 days for the relatively meager cost of 15 credits and 5 units of meld. And there we are, our next event will likely be the completion of the skeleton suit in the research labs, so once again, let's keep scanning.
Commander, we just received a Priority 1 request from the Council.
Alright, no skeleton suit just yet, instead we have another Council mission. And this is actually a unique one. There is only 1 Council mission in the game of the side recon type. It was introduced in Enemy Within, it will take place in Canada and give us a panic reduction if completed successfully. And additionally, it is also always going to be the exact same mission.
We're confident that you will handle this matter with discretion.
So I'm not going to spoil anything here, but we have to change our equipment a bit for this one, because we will not meet any enemies that we can stun with the arc thrower, poison with the gas grenade or blind with the flashbang. And for that reason, Assault Adam Work here will simply receive a second frag grenade, Andrea's loadout will stay as it is, Emilia can exchange the flashbang for Resilius' scope, Shoji will switch out the gas grenade for a regular frag grenade, while Nicholas can't and George won't see any changes. And that's it, that is our side recon lineup. Let's send our squad over to Canada now and see what they find.
Commander, we've been asked to investigate some unusual activity taking place near a small fishing village on the island of Newfoundland. Local government officials were responding to a mayday signal when all contact was lost. From the ship, the village, and the rescue team itself. Strike One will need to move in and secure the area. Let's see if we can find out what happened here. We have a new objective.
Alright, we have arrived in a small snowy fishing village. For the moment things are quiet, but that is of course going to change soon. Now this mission is actually infamous for being a squad killer mission because it has a tendency to appear very early in the game. However, if it appears later, and that would be the case in our playthrough here, then it is, at least in my opinion, one of the easiest missions in the game, and one that is an absolute experience points goldmine. And for that reason we will try to get as many kills as possible with George and Nicholas today, as those two are the only soldiers in our squad who still have levels to gain. On our first turn here we can be fairly aggressive and use a round of dashes, as we will likely not meet any enemies this early. Additionally, in this mission we actually do not want too many of our soldiers on Overwatch, as the reaction shots might have the potential to steal kills away from Nicholas and George. So far on our first turn the coast is clear, so let's send Emilia further down the docks.
I'm no fisherman, but something about that shark just doesn't look right.
Alright, as you can probably already guess, that fish is going to have a nasty surprise for us in store. For the moment though we will leave it be and simply have our two heavies join Emilia. Nicholas on the other hand will stay up here and go on Overwatch, while Adam will also dash to catch up with the rest of the group.
Rolling out.
Sniper George Teasdale will then also only move a few tiles and activate Overwatch, while down low Emilia can end her turn by moving into half cover.
You hear that? You've got zombies near your position, Strike One, which means the Chrysalids aren't far behind. We need to find out where these things are coming from on the double. Objectives updated.
Alright, we have company in the form of a zombie, but luckily for us it had to use its entire turn to get into striking distance, and Nicholas also already hit a reaction shot.
Well, that's new. We should probably let Dr. Valen know about this. I doubt one Chrysalid and a shark was enough for them to overrun this town, though. Keep an eye out for anything else the Chrysalids might be nesting in.
Bursting out of the shark we then have a Chrysalid. However, and this is very convenient, bursting out of the animal is all it can do on the first turn, so it is now sitting right in front of us. So that means we have two enemies, hopefully one kill each for Nicholas and George, and let's start with the zombie. It currently has 8 hit points, so to get the kill Nicholas would have to hit for maximum damage, and we're going to make the job a little easier for him by sending in Adam, who can take 2 quick shots with the laser pistol. He does a total of 5 points of damage, and that is now enough to guarantee Nicholas the first kill of the mission. Alright, that leaves the Chrysalid down low also with 8 hit points, so once again we'll have to do some softening up. Before we do though, we can quickly switch Adam back to the shotgun. That is possible even though he has technically already ended his turn, and then we can send George into firing range, but he won't take the shot just yet. Instead, we will first send up Shoji a few tiles to take aim and activate holo targeting, and even better than that, his shot also connects and he does 3 points of damage. George now has an 88% chance to hit, but if he does, the kill is guaranteed, and if not, then we have plenty of other options.
X-ray down.
Alright, excellent start to the mission here and we can keep moving. However, as Emilia advances, she discovers another zombie. Zombies are slow though, so we don't have to worry too much about it at the moment. Instead, we can put Emilia on Overwatch, have Andrea join her, and then simply end the turn. I know I probably should have activated Overwatch with Andrea there as well. Even if both of them were able to hit the zombie, it would not have been enough to get the kill. Still, it probably won't change too much. As expected, the zombie does make a move and Emilia takes aim, and she also finds the target for 5 points of damage. A second zombie then also appears near the back ranks, and luckily I remembered to switch Adam back to the shotgun. Otherwise, close combat specialist here would not have triggered, and the zombie would also not have lost 5 points of damage. Once again though, it has to use its entire movement to even get close to us, so we are once again presented with a fairly manageable task. And we'll actually do this in more or less the same fashion as before. For the zombie near Nicholas, we will switch Adam back to the pistol and take 2 shots, which should hopefully put him in the realm of 6 or less hit points. And that it does, the zombie is now down to 4 HP, and that means we can give Nicholas another kill.
I'm almost out of ammo. Enemy destroyed.
Down on the docks then, same procedure. First up is Shoji, who has a guaranteed hit that will activate holo targeting, and with 4 points of damage the zombie is down to 5 hit points, the minimum damage output of George's sniper rifle.
X-ray neutralized.
And there we are, with a critical hit the kills remain evenly distributed, and so to end our turn we can now activate Overwatches with both Emilia and Andrea.
There now.
And we also immediately see why that was a very good choice. Another zombie appears and this time both reaction shots hit, and even though it's not enough to get the kill, it still brings the zombie down to 4 very manageable hit points. And in this case, we don't even need holo-targeting. With less than half of the target's hit points remaining, George's Executioner trait gives him a +10 aim bonus, so as you can see, he is perfectly capable of doing this one by himself. And there we are, 3 kills for George and 2 for Nicholas, and together with Adam, the latter one can now make his way over and rejoin the rest of the group.
Orders confirmed, moving out.
Apart from that, we will only make a few very minor moves and order reloads for Shoji and Emilia, while Andrea keeps her eyes peeled for more enemy reinforcements.
Let's rock.
Those reinforcements do not appear, however, so we can keep moving. George will climb up onto the ships here for some higher ground where he can reload, while Nicholas moves up to the front lines and stays on Overwatch.
On my way.
And while we have a moment here to catch our breath, we will also give reloads to Adam and Andrea, while Emilia and Shoji stay on Overwatch. And so ends another turn without any interruptions. On the next one, it is time to advance a bit with Emilia.
That ship didn't just run aground. It looks like it was overrun. I'd say that's the likely source of our Chryssalid problem. I guess we should just be thankful it wasn't a cruise liner.
Alright, we discover the ship that is likely the source of the Chryssalid infestation, and Emilia has also activated a nest of 3 of them. And because she is not really in a good position to do anything about them, she will simply retreat again, while we then send Andrea up, who can chuck a needle grenade at the enemies. Chrysalids don't use cover, so the grenade hits all of them for 4 points of damage, and at this point we can send in the man with the flamethrower, Nicholas Mahoney. But before Nicholas grabs all 3 kills for himself, we can send in George to get at least 1. Thanks to the high ground here, the shot is guaranteed to hit.
Kill confirmed.
That leaves only 2, and those can now be fried.
Initiating flamethrower assault.
Shoji and Adam can now move up, and that's already the end of our turn. Let's see what the aliens do on theirs.
I understand.
Nothing yet, so we want to keep moving towards that ship with Nicholas.
Moving out. Got something over here.
As he gets closer, he discovers another lone zombie, and over this distance, that is a target for George. He can already move a bit closer, but at full health he won't be able to get the kill, so as usual, we will send in Shoji first to soften up the target. And he does a great job at that with a critical hit for 6 points of damage, so George can now use his headshot ability for a more or less guaranteed critical hit that will hopefully get us the kill. And he does, 13 points of damage, target removed, time for the rest of our squad to use their dashes to get back to the front line. The aliens meanwhile stay quiet, so let's once again advance with Nicholas.
Moving out.
I'd say we found the source of our infestation, but this is worse than we could have imagined. If the Chrysalids are using that whale as some sort of hive, who knows how many offspring they could produce? Strike 1. Our sensor readings are picking up a whole lot of activity from inside the hold of that ship. I think you're about to have a lot of company headed your way. But nothing you've got on hand is going to be enough for this one. What we need is an airstrike. If you can reactivate that ship's transponder, we can have air support pinpoint your location and take the whole thing out. Objective updated.
Alright, we have discovered ourselves a whale, likely the Chryssalid's breeding ground, and for the rest of the episode we will spend quite a bit of time next to that whale. Our main objective, meanwhile, is to call in an airstrike from the ship's bridge, but before we do that, we have other things to take care of. Now, that whale is what we want to move everyone towards, because unsurprisingly, it will be the source of plenty of Chrysalids. As you can see, there are also a few smaller shark carcasses scattered throughout the hold of the ship, and further down the line, those might spawn additional Chrysalids. Despite all that, we're moving everyone into the lion's den, and you will soon see why I called this mission relatively easy at the beginning. On the alien's turn, a lone Chrysalid jumps out of the whale. However, just like the one spawning from the shark earlier, it can't actually do anything else on this turn. So it's just sitting there, 1 versus 6, and Emilia here will show why the odds are definitely in our favor. Her shot does 4 points of damage, and that's enough for Nicholas. He can now move into striking distance and get himself another guaranteed kill. The rest of our squad will spread out around the whale. George will keep a bit of distance as that actually benefits his accuracy, while Andrea will move up all the way over to the right side, because Chrysalids can jump out of the whale in various places. The next animal then jumps out of the animal's rear, and unsurprisingly, over this distance, Adam's reaction shot also misses. Still, Shoji can take aim with an 80% hit chance, and once again, holo-targeting activates and the enemy takes some damage. And that is once again enough for a guaranteed kill for Mr. Teasdale. That kill also earns him the next promotion to Major, so only one more after that, and then he has also reached his maximum level. The rest of our squad will now use reloads and overwatches as we wait for the alien's next turn. This time a Chrysalid jumps out on the right side, and a second one emerges from one of the hanging sharks, but again, that's all they can do on this turn. On the right side, Andrea takes a reaction shot, but that one goes wide, while Nicholas is a bit more accurate and does 7 points of damage on the other side. That leaves the target with only 1 hit point, and so a pistol shot from George is enough to do the trick. Over on the right side, meanwhile, we can simply have Emilia fire again. If she doesn't move, she can actually do that twice per turn until she hits, but as you can see, once is already enough. And while Andrea reloads, Nicholas can now move in for the kill, unless, of course, he misses a 92% shot.
I'll need a resupply soon. X-ray neutralized.
Luckily though he doesn't, and so we can prepare for the next turn. And as you have likely guessed by now, we will keep doing this until no more Chrysalids spawn from the whale, because every single one of them is another chance for experience points. Now the next one here again appears right at the front of the whale, right under Adam's nose, but for some reason his reaction shot goes wide. So instead it will have to be the usual routine. We will start things off with a holo-targeting shot from Shoji, but that only does 3 points of damage, leaving the Chrysalid with more than half of its HP, and George's Executioner aiming bonus will only activate at 4 hit points or less, so let's take a quick pistol shot here with Adam first. That only does a single point of damage, but that's enough. George's hit chance is now at 96%, and if he hits, that's the kill. And that he does, so another Chrysalid is defeated, and with that we can wrap up this turn as well.
Locked and loaded.
For a change then, we have no alien activity on the next one, but that doesn't have to mean anything. Apart from the whale corpse, we also still have a few sharks hanging around, and I don't think the influx of Chrysalids is going to stop just yet. Still, we can use this turn to get some reloads in, and then we can see if this was really the end of things. And as expected, it was not, as not 1 but 2 Chrysalids joined the fight, and while we don't get off any reaction shots, we should still be able to take them out. For the one on the left, we start things off as usual with Shoji, who not only lands the hit but also activates holo-targeting. And this then paves the way for another guaranteed kill for Sniper George Teasdale.
Kill confirmed.
So, 1 down, 1 more to go, and up first we have 1, maybe 2 shots from Andrea. Alright, 1 is all she needs, so she can reload now while we send in Nicholas for the kill. And there we are, another group is defeated, and that means we can activate an overwatch on Adam and then end our turn. On the next one we then have more company, and this time things are getting a bit tricky. The first Chrysalid jumps out right in front of us, triggering reaction fire from Adam, but joining that one we have not 1 but 2 additional ones, bringing the total up to 3. And despite the fact that we have 3 enemies against us here, I would still like to restrict enemies to George and Nicholas, so on this turn we will, on purpose, only kill 2 of them. To keep everyone safe from the 3rd Chrysalid, however, we will keep a bit of distance, and while doing so, we can also already take out Chryssalid number 1 here. Like I said, we will not bother with number 3 on this turn, so Emilia and Andrea can both retreat a bit. Meanwhile, Adam will dash to catch up with Shoji, and Nicholas will also move away a bit before he takes aim. Alright, that gets us the kill. Alternatively, we still would have had the shot with Emilia, but instead we can now simply put her on Overwatch. And now something happens that I will admit I did not know about, because I always thought that the only way to get over to the other side of the whale was to go around the front. As you can see though, it is apparently also possible to loop around the back, and we got very lucky here that the way was so long that the Chrysalid still had to use all of its turn to move. Now, however, it's sitting on a silver platter, so the usual team of Shoji and George can get to work.
I need additional ammo. I'm about to start keeping score.
And there we are, enemy down. We can now send everyone else back to their usual positions, and while we do that, we can also see that another Chrysalid is about to burst out of that shark over there. And it is actually possible to prevent that from happening by simply destroying the shark on this turn, for example with a grenade. However, as far as I know, that does not actually count as a kill, and therefore does not grant experience points. So for the sake of the advancement of both George and Nicholas, we will not do that, and instead camp out here as long as it is necessary. As expected, we then have more Chrysalids joining the party, 2 of them this time, one of which, however, immediately gets caught by Emilia's reaction shot. And with that, it's down to 2 hit points, but we don't have holo targeting this round, so George's hit chance here is only at 90%.
Negative ammo. Missed the target.
And yes, from time to time, 90% is just not good enough. Mr. Teasdale misses, and with that, I would say the kill now has to go to someone else. And because Shoji is busy reloading, the easiest choice would be Adam, because for him, the kill is guaranteed. That now leaves us with the other Chrysalid on the right side, and for that one we send over Emilia, who can take cover behind the shark here and then land a guaranteed hit. She actually also has a 10% chance for a critical hit, which could result in an instant kill. Luckily though, it's only a regular hit, and that means Nicholas can now wrap things up.
Destroyed.
Andrea meanwhile can go on Overwatch, and that ends our turn, and we also don't have any alien activity afterwards. So we will spend this next turn repositioning and reloading, and then we can see if the whale is indeed already empty.
I'm on it, Commander. Back in.
On my way. Resupply completed.
Alright, no additional Chrysalids on this turn either, and just to be safe I skipped ahead once more, but the whale carcass remains motionless. As you can see, there are also still a couple of smaller sharks around it, but those don't seem to spawn anything either, so we can now finally send everyone in a dash to the ship's upper deck, because if you remember, we still need to call in that airstrike. And our troops make it up the stairs without any interruptions, so on the next turn we can send Shoji up to scout ahead.
I've got something over here.
And he reveals 3 more Chrysalids hiding in a shack right next to the ship, and at least for the moment all 3 of them have moved out of sight. So with the rest of our squad we will not advance too far, just far enough to stay out of the Chrysalids' reach, and apart from George and Nicholas, only Emilia will activate Overwatch, because again, with the Chrysalids moving away from the ship on their initial turn, they should not be able to reach us on their next one unless they dash. And here comes the first enemy, triggering reaction fire from both Nicholas and George. And first of all, Nicholas lands the hit for 6 points of damage, and then George has the easy task of cleaning things up. Chryssalid number 2 meanwhile comes up the stairs and appears right behind the two. However, Emilia was keeping an eye out as well. Her reaction shot goes wide though, but luckily that was the end of the Chryssalid's turn as well. And this right here is an all too familiar situation. Before we start firing though, we will grab ourselves some high ground with Emilia here. That will make her a bit harder to reach for the Chrysalids and also gives her an aim bonus, resulting in another guaranteed hit. And the rest of our squad will move up to that walkway now as well to stay out of reach, ultimately leaving only Nicholas to deal with the Chryssalid. And yes, that puts him in a bit of a tight spot depending on where that last Chryssalid appears. For now though, we have this one here to take care of, so let's hope he doesn't miss. And yes, in hindsight I also realized that moving him a bit closer would have made the kill a lot more dependable here. Still, he does land the shot and with that gets the kill, so let's see now what Chryssalid number 3 does. And it looks like that one has a bit of a journey to make until it reaches us, which not only enables Andrea here to fire a reaction shot, but will probably also cause the enemy to use its full turn to move and not make an attack. And indeed it comes to a halt right under Nicholas's nose, but it does not have any actions left to actually attack, so we can do that instead and open fire with Andrea. Her first shot finds the target, so we don't need a second one, and this time we also have a guaranteed hit with Nicholas, so let's go for the kill.
Draining ammo fast. Dead.
Alright, and that is another nest of aliens defeated, the last one on this map if I'm not mistaken. That is of course until we call in the airstrike. Speaking of which, our next objective now is to get one of our soldiers over to the bridge, where we will have to reactivate the ship's transponder to actually initiate the airstrike. Unsurprisingly, our runner for this one will be Emilia, while the rest of our squad will actually move into the opposite direction to the front of the ship. You can already see it in the objective description. Once the transponder has been activated, our goal is to get to the EVAC zone, in other words, back to the area where we started the mission. And from over here we have the shortest path over there, and that is actually very important because that airstrike will be launched whether we have reached the EVAC zone or not. Now, we will of course not run away too far with the rest of the squad. For now, we can keep all of them grouped together here near the front of the ship, while Emilia makes her way over to the transponder, but very importantly does not activate it yet. We want to activate the thing at the very beginning of her next turn, so that she still has a full turn of movement left, and for that reason we will simply go for the reload at this point. With another reload for Andrea, the turn then comes to an end, and so we can now activate the transponder.
The ship's transponder is active and transmitting. You need to get moving, Strike One. That whole place is going up in a matter of minutes, and anyone left behind is as good as dead. New objective received.
Alright, as you can see in the top right corner, we are now on an 8-turn timer. If we were to use full dashes with everyone for the rest of the mission, that is actually a very generous time window to reach the EVAC zone, but as you may have guessed, we will not do that. Now, we will of course dash with Emilia to catch up with the rest of the group, and apart from Nicholas, the other 5 will also dash to get off the ship, but for the next few turns we will actually progress a bit more slowly, which will allow us to take the occasional shot, activate Overwatch or reload. For this turn we only have Nicholas on Overwatch, let's see if anything moves. And indeed it does. From the shark right next to him a Chryssalid emerges, but Nicholas's reaction shot is on point and enough to get the kill right away.
Target has been neutralized.
So, one more dash for Emilia and she has caught up with the squad, and for some reason, as you can see, the timer is still at 8 turns. I'm not quite sure if this is a bug or intended behavior, so if you have recently played this mission as well, then you can maybe let me know how things went for you. Our remaining soldiers will now move up in a combination of dashes and regular moves, which allows us to activate at least a few overwatches at the end of the turn. On the alien's turn then we can see the whale is active again, and this is supposed to happen as soon as the airstrike is called in. The whale will spawn additional Chrysalids, and so will some of the remaining sharks, and all of those Chrysalids will of course now attempt to chase after us. And again, we could now of course simply ignore them, dash to the evac zone and end this mission with 3, 4, maybe 5 turns left on the timer, but that would also prevent us from getting a few more additional kills, so instead we are taking things a little bit slower. Our squad will stay on the high ground here in great position to hit any enemies that get too close, and who knows, maybe this results in another kill or two for Nicholas or George.
I am moving.
And here we can see it, the Chrysalids are moving fast to stay on our heels. However, this also gives George a chance to land a reaction shot. And the laser beam connects for 6 points of damage, and while we have 2 enemies getting closer, the whale is spawning even more of them. We also have a Chryssalid jump out of a shark on the other end of the docks, but for now it's too far away to do any harm to us. So on our turn we are focusing on the 2 that are chasing us, and we start things off by suppressing the one that is already injured. This activates holo-targeting and does 1 point of damage, and my original idea was actually to kill it off with Nicholas with collateral damage, because that kill would have been guaranteed, but seeing here that the hit chance is 95%, we might as well go for the regular shot. And that one is good, so we now have the other Chrysalid left for Nicholas. To soften up the target, we will take a guaranteed hit with Emilia here, and then we actually have to reposition Nicholas ever so slightly to get line of sight, and once he has that, he can then go for the kill. And there we are, killing enemies while we are retreating, and with those who still have movement we will also continue to move towards the evac zone, and while doing so Andrea also discovers the Chrysalid hiding on this side. For now though we will not take any actions, it is still too far away to attack us on the next turn. Instead we will activate a few overwatches and see what happens. From the whale we have 2 Chrysalids getting closer, but also still quite a bit of distance away, while the one that jumped out of the shark earlier is starting to move, triggering reaction shots from both Andrea and Adam. And both of them connect, however only for a combined 4 points of damage, which leaves the alien alive and allows it to get a bit closer. And getting up close and personal, that is a task for Mech Trooper Mahoney, who with only a few tiles of movement can get himself another guaranteed kill here. So that leaves the 2 Chrysalids over in the direction of the ship, and for this turn at least we will simply ignore them. Over this distance we would not be able to get a lot of high percentage shots against them, so I think the best course of action here is to simply retreat a bit further and then let them get closer. Again, we are too far away so that they can't actually attack us on the next turn, but allowing them another full turn to dash should make things a lot easier for us. And as Chrysalid number 1 here climbs on top of the container, it triggers reaction shots from Adam, Emilia and Andrea, and Emilia actually also gets the kill here. If I'm not mistaken, this is only the second one of this mission that did not go to either Nicholas or George. Chrysalid number 2 meanwhile takes pretty much the same path. Using its full turn to move, it ends up right in front of our soldiers, who should have an easy time getting rid of it on the next turn. Meanwhile, we also have even more Chrysalids spawning inside of the ship. However, we probably won't be able to kill them all before we have to leave.
Strike 1. That airstrike is closing in your position. You need to get to the evac point before it's too late.
And we get a reminder here that the timer is down to only 4 turns, but that is still plenty of time to rack up a few more kills. Nicholas, however, does not have enough ammo left to actually take a shot on this turn, so he can move and reload, while Adam and Andrea will also both move a bit further towards the evac zone.
Affirmative.
Shoji and George will also both move a bit further away from the Chrysalid, but after gaining a bit of distance we will open fire with our heavy. That only does 3 points of damage, so not enough to activate George's Executioner trait, but hopefully with an 85% hit chance he can still get us the kill here. And indeed he does, another Chrysalid is down, and that means we can also move our backup option Emilia a bit further towards the evac zone, where we then reload her weapon and activate Overwatch with Adam.
Good to go.
On the alien's turn we then have no visible movement for a change. Of course we still have more active enemies on the map, but they also have a bit of ground to cover until they actually get to us. Now we're also getting close to the evac zone, but the timer also still shows 3 turns, So let's set up another Overwatch trap here in anticipation of the Chrysalids that will likely appear on the next turn. And there we are. As expected, another Chrysalid makes a move and appears in Andrea's line of fire. However, over this distance she is unable to hit with the reaction shot. A second Chrysalid then joins the first, but both of them stay just outside of the range of our other Overwatchers, so neither one of them suffer any damage on this turn. Once again, we also have even more aliens spawning on the ship, but with only 2 turns left, we will definitely not see any more of them.
You're running out of time, Strike 1. The airstrike will be there any minute. Get moving.
Now at this point things are once again getting interesting, because this right here is the last turn before we have to use a full round of dashes to get to the evac zone. Still, we also have 2 full health Chrysalids on our heels, so after getting Shoji into a position where he can actually reach the evac zone on the next turn, we will greet these 2 with a shredder rocket from Andrea. This will end her turn. It doesn't do quite as much damage as we could have done with a regular rocket, but that was done on purpose. With 4 points of damage, it still does enough to activate Executioner for George, who can therefore now hopefully get the first of 2 kills this turn. Now the problem is that Nicholas doesn't actually have a line of sight and that we can't move him closer. So the only option to get the kill with him would be to use collateral damage, but that ability only does 2 points of damage at best. And for that reason we are first taking a pistol shot with Emilia here, which thankfully does 2 points of damage as well, probably thanks to the shredder rocket, and I'm really hoping for that shredder rocket to boost the damage output of collateral damage here as well, because we need those 2 points of damage to get the kill. And thankfully our approach works as intended. The Chryssalid is down. That was the last kill of this mission. All we have left to do at this point is to make our way over to the evac zone. Another turn, another Chrysalid appears, but again we have bigger concerns.
This is it, Strike 1. That airstrike is imminent. Get to the evac point now.
And this one actually came down to a very precise management of movement ranges. For Shoji, Nicholas and Adam here, getting into the evac zone wasn't too much of a concern. However, as you can see here, George can just barely make it, but luckily getting to the edge counts as getting inside. Our resident sprinter Emilia then of course has no issues getting into the evac zone, and that leaves Andrea, whose movement range has only a single tile of overlap with the evac zone, but a single tile is enough to get her into safety and to complete this mission. And there we are, we unlock the Zom-B-Gone achievement after killing 35 aliens on this mission. I have actually heard of people who got this number up to 40, but I think this also requires sacrificing at least 1 soldier to stay behind near the whale to rack up easy kills. Still, in our case, it went as well as it could. 33 of those 35 kills went to either Nicholas or George, and at least with George we already know that he is up for a promotion.
Not a single casualty. I'm certainly impressed by our soldiers' combat abilities.
And back in the base we can see it is indeed only George who has earned himself a promotion after this mission, probably also a result of mech troopers advancing a bit more slowly in this game compared to the other classes, but we won't complain and instead advance George to the rank of Major and grab the low profile ability. Now, our reward for this rather lengthy mission is only a panic reduction in Canada. We already have a satellite over there, so panic is not much of an issue at this point, so in that sense the 35 kills we racked up were probably the bigger reward.
We will be in touch, Commander.
Due to the airstrike, we are actually also unable to recover any alien corpses, which is a bit of a shame considering our rather lengthy hit list, but again, after a mission that went so well, I won't be one to complain. And with that, with almost 40 minutes on the clock, we have also reached a good point to make the cut, I would say. So with this rather lengthy episode, I will leave you for 2 weeks of holidays. As I already mentioned in the last Mass Effect video, I will be back in the 2nd week of October. Until then, there will not be any new videos coming, but I hope the length of this one at least kind of makes up for that. So be patient, new content will be uploaded in about 2 weeks or so. Until then, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. And as always, if you want to support me and my channel further, then you can subscribe if you haven't done so already. Alternatively, you can of course also check out and maybe pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.